Good morning, everyone. I am Nitin. I know many of you are aspiring to become full stack web developers. So, in fact, I am here to tell you that you have entered the right platform for that. So, in this course, we are going to deal with several technologies which will give you insights to become the best web developer. So, in this module, we are going to learn about these 4 chapters which are seen on your screen. The first chapter deals with what is full stack web development. The second chapter deals with layers in web development. Third chapter tells you about the different types of web developers, and the fourth chapter, the most important chapter, tells you why to become a full stack web developer. So let's move on. So just a glance at all the technologies which are required to become a full stack web developer. Just like you have React.js, you have Node.js, CSS, Python, HTML, JavaScript, PHP, Ruby, Angular. These are all the technologies, and along with this there are a few other technologies as well to become a full stack web developer. So before studying any technology, let us actually study what is full stack web development. Now, full stack web development involves both front end and back end web development. Now you may have this question that what is front end and what is back end. Now front end is a visible part of the website or a web application which is responsible for user experience. So the user directly interacts with the front end portion of the web application or the website. Now whenever you open a website, you can see a web page displayed. You can type in your web URL there, and once you click enter, you will see the web page which is going to be displayed. Now that part is called as a front end part. Now the question arises that what is back end? Why do we need back end? Because anyhow you are seeing the front end, you actually want the front end to be displayed, then why should the back end be? Now back end, it refers to server side development of the web application or website with primary focus on how the website works. It is just not important to have front end, it is very important to have backend as well. Why? Because it is responsible for managing the database through queries and APIs by client side commands. So this type of website mainly consists of 3 parts: the front end, the backend, and one more part which is very important, that is called as the database. So now this is the front end technology. So it involves scripting languages like HTML, JavaScript, styling language like CSS. All these 3 things are used to actually show how the data can be manipulated to make it as a better visual experience. And also we can use high level languages like Java, Python for server side, and JavaScript frameworks like Node.js, libraries like jQuery. We'll understand all these technologies in detail in our further classes, but before that let us understand what is front end development. So I hope you guys have got an insight of what actually is front end development. So these are the layers of the web development. Now it consists of 3 layers. Just like in the networks part there are 7 different layers in the OSI layer, the same way there are 3 different layers in web development. The first layer is called as the presentation layer. It involves HTML, JavaScript, CSS, all the styling elements, all the contents can be written in the presentation layer. This basically describes how the data is actually seen on the website. So that is called as the presentation layer. HTML. So what is HTML? We will deeply discuss about it in our future classes, but I would like to give you an insight of what actually is HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It is used to design the front end portion of the web pages using a markup language. It has its own language called markup. So using that markup language, we are going to design our web pages. Now what is CSS? Now CSS is cascading style sheets. The full form of it is cascading style sheet. So this is actually used to give different styles to the HTML contents so that it looks better on the screen. Now one more thing is JavaScript. Now JavaScript is a very famous scripting language used to create the magic on the sites to make sites interactive for users. For example, you might have seen a web page where there is a counter. So whenever you visit a counter, the counter will be going from 1 2 3 4 5 6 to whatever the number they have given. It just increases whenever you see that. Every seconds the counter changes. Now that all those things can be done using JavaScript. This was just an example of it. So later on classes will be dealing with more complicated examples as well, which will actually make you understand what exactly is all of those things. The second thing is application layer. Now in this application layer, what exactly happens is, it refers to server-side development. As I told you earlier, this projects run on the server, not on your client system. This is the term used for behind the scenes activities that happen when performing any action on a website. Now backend developer focuses on databases, scripting and architecture of website. Example PHP, C++, Node.js. For example, you want to retrieve a data from a server, you cannot use a client-side programming like HTML, JavaScript, CSS. You have to use programs like Java, .NET, C#, Python, C++, PHP to retrieve the data from the server. So this is why the application layer is used. The third most important layer is the data layer. Now whatever data you give it to the website or a web page or whatever you want to display it, we have to store it in a place. Now that storage place is called as the data layer. Just like you have different storage places like MySQL, Oracle, SQL Server, MongoDB. These are all the databases which are available, and you can use those databases to store your content. So now you can see this image where you have a representation of presentation layer, application layer, and also the database layer. Now what should we understand by seeing this image is that now this front end, that is the presentation layer, this is where your data is actually displayed on the screen. But to display this data, there's an interaction between the presentation layer and the application layer. Now this application layer processes whatever request you give from here, from the presentation layer. This requested will be processed here, and it queries the database here. For example, for example, when you are accessing a form, you want to retrieve a data. For example, you want to retrieve the data of a person who is studying in a college. So what you have to give, you'll request the database server, the application layer. So in turn, this application layer will request the database, and the database which is already stored, for example, the person name is already stored in the database. Now what happens, whenever you request from here, this goes a transition from here to the database layer, and this database, the data will be again fed back to the presentation layer using the application layer. I hope you guys have understood this. Now presentation layer, front end. So consisting of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, this renders what user should see, including content, style, font, size. There are different types of contents available. There are different stylings available using all those things. For example, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, they have basic commands, they have inbuilt commands which are used to give stylings, fonts, sizes, contents, the different commands, so that you can use all those commands and make your website visually good. So that is why front end is very important. Because why front end, we'll be dealing with that later. And before that, application layer, that is the back end. Now we have understood what is front end, so let us understand what is back end as well. Now back end, this forms a dynamic connection between front end and database. Just like I told you in the previous diagram where there were three layers, presentation, application and the database. Application layer is responsible for all the requests, all the responses between the presentation layer and the database layer. I hope you guys understood. Whenever a data is requested from the presentation layer, it goes through the application layer and then only the request is respond. This is about backend. So now we'll understand what is a database layer. Now database layer is nothing but the storage of data. It says massive warehouse of information. It contains repositories that stores data obtained from front end through backend. That means the data, whatever the data is should be stored, it will be available in the database section, that is MySQL, MongoDB, the different technologies to use that, just like I told you before. Now what does this do? The application requests the data from the database layer, and if all the credentials are proper, all the credentials are correct, then the database will respond with the data where the user can see it through the front end. So this is about the database layer. Now we'll come to chapter number 3, types of web developers. So basically there are few types of web developers. The first type of web developers is front-end web developer. Now what is a front-end web developer? Now this developer precisely works on front-end technologies. He does not care about the back-end technologies. He just wants to develop front-end web pages to look more beautiful, to give a visual good experience and all those things. He uses HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and whatever the front-end technologies are available, he is the master in it. So he uses all these technologies to make sure the web page looks beautiful. So that is what front-end developers do. He does not focus on back-end technologies. He just focuses on the front-end technologies. Just like you can see here, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, Bootstrap, React, Angular. There are so many different technologies available. Using all those technologies, he is a mastery in it. So that is front-end developer. Now you can choose if you want to become a front-end developer or a back-end developer. Now what is a back-end developer? So let us go through it. Now back-end developer is called server-side programming. Basically it does not run on your client machine, it runs on the server. So it maintains application, server and the database to make front-end operate. It is not very important to just know only front-end. Just like I told you earlier, front-end technologies are used to display the data on the screen, but the back-end technologies are very important. Why? Because it shows you how to interact with the user. So basically you can create your forms, login forms. For example, you give your username and you give your password. Just by creating a front end, you cannot log in into your website. By creating a back-end technology using Java, Ruby, MySQL, MongoDB and all those databases, whenever you want to log in into your system, you can give your username, password, log in, and you can come to your page. So all these things are processed in the application layer as well as the database layer. Both together are called as backend. Now front end plus backend is equal to full stack developer. Now what does this mean? If you know only front end, then you will be called as a front end developer. If you know backend, you will be called as a backend developer. But the common sense of this course is, the course highlights how to become a full stack developer and all the technologies involved in full stack developer. So we have to have knowledge of both the things, of both front end and back end. So that is why if you know both the technologies, you will be called as a full stack developer. Should be able to set up Windows to Linux servers, develop server side and client side using Python, JavaScript, design. That's what I told you before. You must assess, you must know all the technologies with respect to front end and back end. You must be well aware that using those both technologies, you can become a full stack web developer. Now the last chapter is why become a full stack web developer. Now I understand that you guys know what is the difference between a full stack developer, what is a front end developer, what is a back end developer. You guys have understood all these things now. But the most important question is, since there are so many technologies available outside, there's so many jobs, there's so many things which are available outside, then why do you have to choose full stack web developer? Now there are few reasons to actually choose full stack web developers, because there are rich set of tools and technologies available to develop and design the web pages. For example, for every company there is a website. There are a few things available on the website, just like about investors, there are technologies, there are so many things which are displayed on the website. Just imagine if you go for a company which doesn't have a website. Now do you feel it is a good company, or do you feel it is a proper company? No, right? Since you have to set up a company, you need a website. So create a website is very important. Now see, there are different types of website. You can go and check it out. There is a normal website. There is a beautiful website. Now, if I ask you a question about if you choose a normal website, just like a content, there's no fonts, there's no sizes, there's no proper beautifully arranged content. It is just like spread it on the screen. Do you choose that? I hope it's no. You choose a website where you have beautifully arranged contents, you have good fonts, you have good font families, you have different types of things, and you feel good to visit that website, and you will often visit that website to see how this website is designed, and you will be, if you are an employee of that company, you will feel good. So that is one reason why, because there are rich tools of technologies which are available, which can actually make you stand apart from any other technologies. The second point is both designing and development can be done. Now what happens when a company, if you are an employee, there are only one job profile which will be given to you. First thing is development or designing or testing. You cannot do all the things at once. If you are in a development stage, you are only given development. If you are in a designing stage, you are only given a designing problems. If you are in a testing stage, you will be given only the testing platforms. But in full stack web development course, both designing, developing and also testing can be done. You can actually see the live results of whatever you program using full stack web development. Because in a programming language, you can see whenever you see, you have to wait for the output to be displayed. But here in full stack web development, you can actually do both at the same time. There are different technologies available for that. And the third most important technologies things are full stack web developers are paid well. Now obviously, if you know all the technologies, since I told you in the first point, the rich set of tools and technologies are available, all the trending technology, if you go on and study, obviously you are paid well, right? So these are all the things which are actually tells you why to become a web developer and also the importance of being a web developer. I hope you guys have understood this module. So in the further on modules, we will be dealing into much good technologies and we'll be learning some deep insights about it. Well, thank you everyone. Hello students. In my previous session, we learned about how to become a full stack web developer and most importantly, why to become full stack web developer. Now in this class, we are going to learn about web development. As you can see, I have posted the modules which are there in this course. There are around 8 modules to be covered in this course. So we'll go with the first module, that is web development. Now this module consists of 5 chapters, namely what is web development, what is web application, how does it work, and why web development, and also the applications will also be shared in this video. So now web development. Now what exactly is web development? You guys have might heard about development, developing a project, developing a software. The same way, web development means it refers to building, creating and maintaining websites. It includes aspects such as web design, web publishing, web programming and database management. This is nothing but creating a web page, websites, multiple web pages and all those thus means the same, that is web development. So now what is web applications? Now web application is a computer program that utilizes web browsers and web technology to perform tasks over the internet. Now there are 2 things we have learned. Now what is web development and also what is web applications? Now web applications is nothing but the computer program you write to execute all the commands to be displayed on the screen, the front end, the back end, all those things, that is called as the program which you write, that is called as web application. But web development involves building, creating and maintaining websites. That is the major difference between these 2 things. Now how does it work? Now this diagram gives you a complete insight about how web development works. As you can see, this is the user, that means we the users here. This is the front-end technology, just like I have mentioned you earlier about HTML, CS and JavaScript. This is called as the front end. This is where the user sees and interacts with. And this is the app logic. Now these two things are called as backend. Now this is the application layer and this is the database layer. So what happens here? As you can see, users collect the data. That means the front end part collects the data from the user and it requests the application layer, that is the logic, that is PHP, JavaScript, Python. We have written commands and it will be executed in PHP, JavaScript. The front end requests these applications. Now what does this application do? There will be a dedicated web server first, this web server. Now this web server contains file system and also the database. Now what happens here is, whenever we request a data from the server, from this server, now this server will again take the request, again spread the request to the database and the file system. Depending on the request we made here, the web server will request the database and also the file system. So whatever data is retrieved, it will be stored in web server. As you can see, the arrow marks, the request arrow mark is here, from the web server to the database, from the web server to the file system. The response is given as database to web server, file system to web server. So this is the request and this is the response. Now whatever response is there in the web server, this is in fact given as a response back to the front end using this response. Can you see the response? This is the request given to the application layer. This is the response by the application layer. Now this response will display the result to the user. You can see front end technology is used to display the results. The same way you can give the data to the front end, it goes here, is processed here, then again the database is queried, again the response is achieved. Now this response is showed by displaying the results. So this is the web application architecture. This is what is done in the process. In our future classes, we'll be dealing with the proper technologies which are used for this application, but this is a complete oversight of the web application architecture. So now, why web development? So why do you think we have to develop web applications? Why? Because this is a very simple answer. Because there is a difference between here. It's true. You can see the left website here. This is so shabby and you don't want to go to this website. If you're given a chance, you don't want to go to this website. Why? Because you cannot see the text properly, and all those things are underlined, and it looks very shabby, and you don't want to visit this website again. But on the right side of your screen, you can see TechVed Labs website, and you can see how well it is organized. You can see the navigation bar, you can see different modules here, workshops, internships, and the background images. You can have different technologies used in it. And if you are given a chance, I would like to ask you guys a question. Do you visit this website or this website? I'm 100% sure that you want to visit this website. So that is why web development is very, very important. Now, benefits of web applications. Now, web applications run on multiple platforms regardless of OS device, as long as the browser is compatible. Now, you can see you can open a web page in a mobile phone. You can open a web page in an iPad. You can open a web page in a computer system, PCs, laptops, right? You can actually browse anything on these devices. That is why web application is very important. It is platform independent. You can run it on any devices unless it has browser compatibility. Now the second benefit is all users access the same version, eliminating any compatibility issues. Now what does this mean? All users access the same version. Now once a web application is developed, it is hosted on a server. Now once any user from a mobile phone, from a computer system, once he accesses that website, the same version will be displayed on everything, on a mobile phone, on a laptop, on a computer system. everything, it displays the same version. Unless it is modified, it displays the same version. That is what it means. And the third benefit, they are not installed on the hardware, thus eliminating space limitations. Now they are not installed on hardware. Very simple. It is not installed in any hard drive. Now what happens if you install your websites in a hard drive? If the hard drive is removed from the computer, you cannot access the hard drive. The same way the web applications are stored in a server. Now this server, we can access it from anywhere, thus eliminating also the space limitations. In a hard drive, what happens, you can only store 1 TB of data or 2 TB of data, but in a web server you can store unlimited TBs of data, right? Thus eliminating the space limitations. Now they reduce software piracy in subscription based web application, SaaS, SaaS. Now they reduce software piracy. What does it mean? Whenever a web application is developed and hosted on a web server, you cannot pirate it. You cannot pirate the subscription based web application. Why? Because they will have a separate code for it. They have their own copyright codes. The subscription model is different, and in subscription model you cannot properly pirate the data, and that is why web application stands apart, and it is very useful for companies. The last benefit of this is they reduce costs for both the business and end user, as there is less support and maintenance required. Yes, there's less support. Whenever you host a complete website, you don't have to maintain it. It is already maintained on the web server, and you don't have to, unless there is change, you will have to go there and change the code and all those things. But if you host a website on a web server, you don't have to support it or maintain it. It runs for particular limited amount of time, unless you have to pay for the subscriptions and all those stuff. It reduces costs, right? So these are all the benefits of a web application. Now applications. Web applications include online forms, shopping carts, word processors, spreadsheets, video, photo, file conversions, file scanning, email programs. There are different types of web applications available in the world right now, such as online forms. You can fill your forms just like Google Forms, shopping carts, Amazon, Flipkart, and all those things just are shopping carts. Word processors, spreadsheet, Excel. You have Excel on net, that is Google Sheets. Video and photo editing. You can actually edit your video and photo on the online platforms. File conversions, just like allowpdf.com or PDF to JPEG or JPEG to PDF, Word to PDF. There are different file conversion platforms available on the internet. You don't have to download that software. You just have to go to the website. You will have to enter the details, or you will have to upload your file where you want to convert your file, and all those things can be done online. You don't have to download it, thus saving space, time, cost, all those things. And file scanning also, if you want to scan the file, just go, there's an application called Cam Scanner. Just go there, scan your file using a mobile phone or a camera, all those things. You can directly upload it, you can convert it. There are so many options available on the internet now. And also email programs. There are different types of email programs which are available. So this is about web development, right? So in our future classes, we'll be studying about different modules. For this, thank you very much.